All right, so this kind of connects to what I talked about last week. Um, I wasn't sure if I was ready to talk about this. I don't. It's been a rough little while for me, but I don't want to let this go. I don't want to lose momentum for myself and for those four people who seem to be watching these with some regularity. So I wanted to go with this, and this one, I don't know. This one it causes me a little bit of anxiety, but I think it's important to talk about. And so I want to talk about the concept of masculinity and how that's played out in my life. Um, and this one, I was going to bring up some visual aids and stuff like that, but I don't want to this time. I just want to talk about it. Um, and before I do, I want to be clear. I'm not anti-masculinity. I think I'm anti the way it's applied. And so let me explain what I mean by that. There are certain traits that are supposed to be masculine. These are traits that men are supposed to have. These are the things that we are supposed to espouse and supposed to strive to achieve. It the term real man is thrown out to describe the kind of things that we're supposed to espouse as males. Um, and I grew up in a very masculine culture. I grew up in rural Utah, um, and I felt very much like my sense of malehood, my manliness, was tied specifically and directly to my interests. I found out it wasn't until my junior year of high school that I found out that I was not interested in playing competitive sports. Specifically, those of you who know me, I stand 6'7". I'm guessing you know what sport I was expected to play. Um, and first off, I wasn't very good. Uh, there was a time in middle school when I literally couldn't walk down the hall in a straight line because of my lack of control over my body. The other thing that I learned, and I didn't learn it until I was a junior, was I didn't want to put in the time off the court. I didn't want to practice. I didn't care about it. I enjoyed playing basketball for fun. Um, but I didn't feel that drive, that competitive drive that other people did. But I felt like I was supposed to. I remember my junior year, the reason I found out that I didn't enjoy playing competitive sports that much was because I was cut from the high school basketball team. Um, and I felt like I had let my community down. I felt like I had let everybody who knew me down because I wasn't engaged enough to make the basketball team. And I went home and I cried. And after I had some time to get over that, to kind of let the emotions process, then I learned that I personally didn't feel that bad myself. I felt like I had let everybody around me down, but I didn't mind. And then that year, I played church ball. I played basketball for my church, and every congregation, every ward fielded a team, and we played. And I enjoyed that so much more because it was more about just enjoying the game and playing than it was about this need to win, which is also a very masculine trait. We are supposed to want to win. Sometimes we're supposed to want to win at all costs. I mean, you see this in sports movies, and of course they're the bad guys in sports movies, but the team that's willing to, cut corners and cheat to get the advantage. But this is part of that need to win. It's so strong that we drive this. And I remember watching people after losing basketball games, they'd be in the locker room and they'd be crying because of the loss, because of how deeply that impacted them. And I didn't get that. So I was supposed to be athletic, right? I was supposed to be sporty, and that was part of what it meant to be a man. Also, I was supposed to love hunting and fishing, and I still don't much care for fishing. One of my sons, his uncle took him out fishing while they were visiting, and he likes it. He likes fishing. He enjoys the process. And I don't dislike it, but I would never seek out to go fishing if it weren't for him. So I bought a pole. We're trying it out. Haven't had a whole lot of success yet. Haven't gone out a lot yet. But I don't want to fish. There's not something inherently necessary about fishing. I like being in nature. I do, but I don't feel the need to go fishing. Also, I'm supposed to like hunting, and I don't dislike it. I love this. This is where I do have some of that stereotypical masculinity to me. I love shooting guns. I enjoy shooting targets. I enjoy, that kind of stuff. I don't dislike hunting, but I was very okay with letting it go it became when it became impedimentary to other things I wanted to do with my life. I had to let things go to focus on what I felt mattered most, and sports and hunting were fairly easy to let go. But this was hard for me when I was growing up because I felt like my lack of engagement, my lack of enthusiasm somehow made me less of a man. It also didn't help that I liked musicals. I enjoyed watching Oklahoma, South Pacific, those kind of things growing up. I enjoyed watching those. I liked the theater. When I found the theater, I found out I really enjoyed that. I liked reading Shakespeare. I liked books. And I like this stuff that felt very antithetical to what it meant to be a man. I was not a manly man. And I know some of you will say, well, yeah, what about Hugh Jackman and all this stuff? But the point is, my society gave me this perception of what it meant to be a man that I struggled with. I think in an earlier video, maybe it was just the last one. Even this concept of facial hair was tied to my definition of manliness. A real man could grow a beard. I couldn't grow a beard until after I was 20, and there were times when that caused me grief. A real man is muscular, and I am not. A real man is big, a real man is confident, a real man is capable, and I am big, but for the longest time, I didn't feel confident, I didn't feel capable. And and as I talk about this, please understand, I was a different person then. And what's coming, what I'm going to be talking about next, I understand was really problematic in some ways. But I remember a distinct moment. I think it was People magazine had just released their Sexiest Men Alive, and on the cover was a picture of Mel Gibson. This was when he was still, popular and okay, and hadn't gone all crazy and stuff. But I remember thinking, you know what, he is kind of good looking. And then I wondered, I looked at this. This was this moment of I don't want to say epiphany, but I can't think of a better word right now. This moment of epiphany where I looked at my life and I looked at that I didn't like sports. I wasn't a fisherman. I didn't like to be aggressive. I didn't like to be angry. I felt the need to cry. All of these things, and I looked at my life and I put these things in context, and I thought, okay, I recognize that Mel Gibson's attractive, which is something that I wasn't supposed to do as a man. All this stuff, and I wondered for this moment if I was gay. And there was this huge problem with that question because it had nothing to do with my sexual orientation. I don't feel sexually attracted to men. But in this moment, I had all these cultural expectations pushing at me. And as I examined them objectively, I thought, I am not masculine. I do not fit the mold of masculinity that is presented to me. And because of that, I must be something different. And at that point, the only other kind of man that I knew about was a homosexual man. And so I only saw these two options. And I was confused. And it still resonates with me. It's still something that makes me uncomfortable. It wasn't until this year that I realized I'm still not comfortable with being called a man because I don't like being connected with so many of these masculine attributes because I don't feel like they describe me. And, we talk about the positive attributes of masculinity. I agree with most of those, and I'm fine with most of those, but I don't see them being necessarily masculine. I just see them as positive traits of humanity. And so I'm still trying to find my place in that. And it's not that I'm anti-masculine. I love motorcycles. I really do. And that kind of skews to me masculine. I like guns. That's masculine. I do enjoy action movies. And that's masculine. So I'm not, I want to be clear here, I'm not casting aspersion on masculine traits as a whole. But for me, the concept of masculinity that I dealt with, that I grew up with, led me to a sense of toxicity. We talk about toxic masculinity, and this is something I've talked about a lot. And that's very real to me because I felt trapped in trying to be the kind of man that I was supposed to be. And it's still, there are echoes of that in me now. Um, there was a time when we just moved to Boulder, Colorado for me to go to grad school. We needed an income, but my wife and I sat down and we talked about this, and we realized it would be kind of silly for me to go for a job that I'd only be working for 2 months until school started. So she went out and got a job. And so for those 2 months and for much of our time in Boulder, she was earning money and I was not. I stayed home for those 2 months and I was making the food. I was cleaning the house. I was watching our kids. And I struggled with this because I've been taught, my culture taught me that the man is supposed to bring in the money. The man is supposed to provide. The man is supposed to make sure that the temporal needs of his family are taken care of. And I was not doing that. And it was hard for me. And I mean, rationally speaking, my wife and I talked this through, and it was the right move for our family. It really was. And our family's needs were being taken care of. It wasn't a question of complete abdication of my responsibilities. It was a decision made in cooperation for our family that put me in the more feminine role. And I personally am okay with that, but there's still this measure of masculine pride in me that made it hard for me. Um, and this is where I feel like it ties back to what I was talking about last time with this kind of sense of dysmorphia. I still feel, and I'm back in the community where I was raised, and I still see it. I still feel like there's this pressure external to me to be the right kind of man. And it's come up sometimes in my church where we talk about what a man should be, and I listen and I hear descriptions that don't fit me. I don't belong in the masculinity that is prescribed in my culture. And I struggle with that. And I anticipated this. There's a minute and a half left before I run out of time, and I love staying to the 15-minute time limit, so I might come back to this and talk about it more, but this is just me talking about my experience, my lived experience. And I'm 40 years old and I'm still struggling with reconciling the man that I am supposed to be according to my community with the man that I want to be on the inside, with the man that I am. And so much of this makes me feel like I just don't want to worry about the term man or male or any of that. And I just want to be me. I think I have more to say about this, but I want to stick with the time limit that I've given myself, even if it feels artificial. So, if you want me to talk more about specific aspects of this, that's great. We'll see what comes out the next time I talk about it. Anyway, for the time being, take care of yourselves and good luck.